guys. No. It's the weekend. So, road trip muna tayo. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello. Morning.
Jar, good morning. Jar. Ay.
Hello.
Say hello. Okay. Show your face. Come on. Sit up straight. Oh, say good morning.
Hello.
Hello. We're heading to the western part of Ireland this time kasi nasa Cork kami. Nasa southern part kami ngayon. So we're heading to County Clare to visit one of the oldest cave here in Ireland. So, okay, lalagay lang ako ng seatbelt. Are you all buckled up? Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ang ating driver. God bless our trip. Ang trip is for 2 hours and 20 minutes approximately. Time check, it's 7:51 in the morning, Saturday morning. So, medyo...
Please turn next right.
Ganon, kalakas ang GPS. So medyo makulimlim dito, umulan yata kaninang madaling araw.
Follow the road for 3 kilometers.
Yan, naririnig nyo ang aming navigation. So, kita-kits na lang maya-maya. Okay? Bye! Bayad kami ng toll gate. Kasi may mga bayad kasi
Thank you. Thank you.
toll gate cost €1.90. Yan. On the way to Clare. Still have another 1 hour to travel. 'Actually arrived here in Alloy, but we're just waiting for the tour to start. So we're just up here at the sightseeing site to see.
Wait, when is it going? 22. 11:40.
11:40. 5 more minutes.
It's 11:37.
We'll be there. We'll be down there now. Oh, yeah, no, you want to go and buy binoculars there? Yeah, come on.
I would like to use the binoculars, thank you.
Here. Go. Go na. How much is that? Picture mo, ading mo na. Picture mo siya dun.
There's nothing.
Because you have to put a coin to be able. But I don't know how much.
It doesn't say.
We're gonna go down now soon because the tour will be starting.
Any coin.
They didn't say how much, did they?
Yeah, put any coin.
No,
like
you
€1.
can't put any coin.
Put €1. €1. Is it inside?
Go get it here in my purse. €1 will do, nak.
No, too big. €1 too
Bye-bye,
big.
yeah.
So it's 50 cents, I guess. O, di ka na. Ano na? No. Di ka na muna. Baka malate tayo na. Mamaya na lang. We'll come back up here.
It's only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Put it back in my bag now, love.
Now I guess it's $50.
50 cents. Will you close my bag? Good. Oo, nakita ko yung ikot ko na yan. We're heading down to the tour now because it will be starting in few minutes. We should be on time, otherwise we won't be able to make it. But it is just over here. Now, there seem to be a lot of people at the moment because it's a bank holiday weekend. Welcome to Alwi Cave. Last dance for me. Look at those. Those are their
We're
awards.
ready to go, we'll get started. You can head up on the ramp here beside me. You'll see boxes on the ground up there. Pick one and stay in it with your group or your family. I'll be up to you in a moment.
Ano daw, sabi? Doon tayo sa pinakauna. Na. Dito na kami. Ayan, dito tayo. Yan, here. Okay. Oh, look at the bear. Yan. Actually.
That's a Papa Bear.
Look at the black bear. Black bear used to live here in this cave.
Papa Bear. Mama Bear.
Okay. Alright guys, so you're all very welcome to Alwi Cave. My name is Sandra. I'm going to be your guide in here today. Now inside here when we do our cave tours, so it's a kilometre in total that we walk. It takes about 35 minutes from door to door. We go half a kilometre into the actual cave in Alwi Mountain. I'll stop 6 times with Keith, but I'll only be talking at 5. Because there's one stop that's down towards the end of the waterfall and it's just way too loud for me to be shouting at you there. That's going to be a photo stop, alright? In the rest of the stops I'll tell you all the story about Alwi Cave. When we finish at the highway, the biggest chamber, and we go back out then through man-made tunnels. That brings us back to the outside toilets. That's the whole route, okay? So as we're going through, guys, just remember this is a natural formation. The roof itself formed by a river, so there's places in there where it gets low and rock juts out. Just mind the heads at all times. Pathways can be slippery as well from the rain we've had over the last couple of days, so just watch out for puddles, hold on to the railings. They have been well sanitised, so you can do so. In terms of COVID, please keep the face masks on at all times, guys. At each stop you're going to see yellow sheets like these on the walls and the railings. They're the exact same as the boxes. You just pick one and stay together. Now I only have 2 groups of each, but just try and keep the distance between you anyway. We have hand sanitizer here on the wall on the left and on the way out of the cave. Please use it both times as well. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask me throughout the tour. Have you any questions for me now?
Alcohol.
Hey.
Now guys, just mind the heads, watch out for the puddles.
Oh.
Take your time, walk it through with me.
Bantayan mo din si anak mo. Medyo madilim. May ilaw ka dyan, May? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, guys, are we all okay so far? All good?
Yeah.
Mighty stuff. Okay, so to begin with, before I tell you all about the bears, I just want to tell you a little bit about how this cave was actually found. So this place was discovered by accident back in 1940, and it was found by a local farmer. His name was Jack McGann. He was out farming with his sheepdog, but his dog saw a rabbit, and he chased him down here into the cave. Now Jack went home, he thought this was just a rabbit hole. He went home, thought the dog would follow him. After a few hours, there was no sign of his dog. So Jack got a candle and a box of matches, and he came back up here to find him. So he came up, he saw that this was a cave, and he decided to go down through it. He got as far as the third stop, and that's where he found his dog. But the weirdest thing about Jack is that even after finding his dog, and finding and exploring this cave a little bit, he didn't tell anyone for over 33 years. Very Irish thing to do. So that was until 1973. He got talking to some cavers, and they were from Bristol. They were over here just looking for places to explore in the burn. But they got talking to Jack down one of the pubs, and that's where he told them his story about what he had seen up there. So they came up, they had a look for themselves, and after that, word just got out about what was here. So two local families decided to get together, buy some land on the site, and they opened this up as a show cave to the public in 1976. But they had to make it easier for people to come through. So from the doorway we came in, that was the original entrance, to the second stop. They lowered the ground here by about a metre. They'd take out a lot of this clay and broken rock, and that's how they found the preserved hibernation beds and the bare bones you see down there in the first bed as well. Now these belong to a type of bear that's called the European or Eurasian brown bear. They're actually extinct in Ireland for over 3,000 years. And they became extinct because of all the forestry and trees that have been cut down in the country, but they would have been overhunted as well for their fur. Now their main reason for coming into this cave, it would have been to hibernate, and that's because of the temperature in here. So you might have noticed it getting a little bit colder as you walk in. That's because all year round this cave stays at 10 degrees Celsius, about 50 Fahrenheit. So in winter it is warmer in the cave than it would be outside. So it's nice and cosy for the bears, and it's the perfect place really for any animal to hibernate in. Now those bones you see down there in the first bed, they were only recently dated 3 years ago by radiocarbon dating, and that was a huge find for us because originally we thought there was only one bear here, only one bear's bones, and that they were about 3,000 to 4,000 years old. So when we had them dated, we found out the skull that's down there, that's belonged to a male brown bear who actually died about 10,400 years ago. Now they also dated the leg bone, and it belonged to another male. He died over 4,600 years ago, and they believe he could have been the last bear to use this place for hibernation. Now, the only other bones found in here weren't as exciting. They were like foxes and badgers or domesticated animals, so sheep and goats, ducks, geese. There was no human remains, and very little evidence humans had been here before poor Jack came into the cave. The only animal that uses this cave today is a type of bat. They're called the rare lesser horseshoe. They're very rare. They're so rare, in fact, they're actually protected by law, but they use this to hibernate as well. So they come in here between about October to March. It's usually just the mothers with their babies because the cave is nice and safe, it's away from predators. They stay down parts of the cave we don't go into. When they do hibernate, they go fast asleep and their body slows down so much, their heart rate drops to about 1 beat every half an hour. So even when they are in here, we don't really see them. So if you don't like bats, we won't see them today, I promise. Alright? I'll bring you a little further, guys, and I'll tell you a bit about how this all forms.
Well, flying.
It is cold. It is cold.
Yeah. But see, for the bears, it's not because they have a thick
We're about to go down the slope here. Just be very careful coming down. Hold on to that railing and take your time. Okay everyone, so into this part of the cave. This is where we like to tell you about how all of this actually formed. Now at the moment you're in a place with me that's called the Burren. So the Burren is what's known as a karst limestone landscape. This will be an area of about 400 square kilometres of uncovered and broken down soluble limestone. It's like a big natural rock garden. It's mostly made up of this limestone that you see around you. It's all around you now. This is called carboniferous limestone. This would have formed about 350 million years ago, way before even the dinosaurs. But it formed at the bottom of tropical shallow seabed. And back then, Ireland was actually south of the equator. We were somewhere near Brazil, so our climate was way different. But because of the plate movement underground, the continents began to separate. They were one big landmass. When they started to separate, Ireland slowly moved up to where we are now. And along the way, this rock would have been pushed up above sea level, and it went through a lot of changes. So over millions of years, the limestone here in the Burren has been broken down by wind, eroded by ice and glaciers during the ice ages, and it's been dissolved by rainwater as well. Rainwater is slightly acidic and just acidic enough to actually dissolve this limestone. Because of all of this weathering, cracks and holes in the rock today, that's what's allowing the water to come down through it. Now I know we haven't had much rain today, I don't think we've had any, but if we had, you would feel drops in your head coming down. That's the rainwater making its way down through it. But in the Burren, because of that, our rivers and streams, they just disappear. They sink down through those cracks in the rock and they disappear down underground. And that's how cave systems like this begin to form. Now this is one of the oldest in the country. It began to form about 2 million years ago. At the very start of the process, you had small little streams of water coming down through the cracks in the rock, and the water would just carve out little channels through the limestone. One of those little channels began to get bigger. It was a less resistant part of the limestone. More water could dissolve through it, and it gave us this semi-circular shaped tube. You'll see that throughout the whole cave with me. That is our roof in here. It's called a phreatic tube, and that is actually where an underground river once flowed through. But over time what happened then was the water began to slowly erode rock downwards in stages as well. And at first this cave would have been like a trench shape, but over time in some chambers like the one we're in now, limestone decayed beside us outside, the walls crumbled and collapsed. That's how we got our shape of the cave. Now this is known as an abandoned cave. That means there's no river going through anymore. The last river dried out about 15,000 years ago. Since then the cave is drier. That's when your calcite formations really start to go in. Now how these form is when water is coming down through the limestone, and along the way it dissolves a mineral called calcite, and brings it back out to air. When it reaches air, the calcite will start to crystallise. What I'm showing you here, this is called calcite flowstone. It forms wherever the water flows out over the rocks, leaves a thin layer of that calcite, and the layers build up over thousands of years. This here will build up very like lime scale in a kettle or plant on tea. It just takes way longer, but it's actually what the cavers decided to call the frozen river. Now throughout the cave I will show you a few more formations and a few names on them as well. We're going to go across a bridge up here, guys. When we cross the bridge, be very careful on your heads and shoulders on the right. This ledge sticks out. Keep tight, hold your phones, cameras, tripods. So this is our third stop. This is actually as far as Jack McGann got when he came into the cave the first time. And down there is where he said he found his dog. He'd been drinking from the water down there at the bottom. Whoa. So what do you see here then against the wall? That kind of yellow stuff. That is another flowstone. It's the largest formation in the cave. And that is what we call our frozen waterfall. It's been forming from that water, which is there trickling down now over the last couple of thousand years. The water there is coming from a stream that starts at the top of Islay Mountain. It just depends on the rain. So if we were to get a really heavy torrential downpour, give that 15 minutes, it would get so loud I wouldn't be able to talk to you here. It would be like the waterfall at the end. We'd have to explain everything at the previous stop. So the water travels down to that puddle on the ground. No matter how heavy the rain gets, that puddle will never flood or fill up, because the water that is there, it's just constantly draining underground underneath it. So it drains down through a series of passageways and streams and chambers, and they eventually bring the water back out to sea. So the water that does leave here, it has been traced with red dye and it drains out near the Aran Islands in Galway Bay. It only takes about 2 or 3 hours to get that far. It does actually travel quite far and quick, and that's because the limestone is just so permeable, the water can travel through it so quickly. Now up here then on the ledge, these guys hanging down, they look a bit like ice floes, but these are actually another calcite feature called straw stalactites. So how these form is literally just from drops of water. A drop of water comes down through the rock, and along the way it's bringing with it that calcite. So once it reaches there, the drop of water just hangs off the rock here for a while, but it leaves the calcite in a tiny circle or ring shape, and that will crystallise. Over time, more drops come down in the same place, and they do the exact same thing. So they leave one ring of calcite underneath the other until you eventually get your straw shape. Now these are the fastest growing formation in here. And they'll take at least 100 years just to get to 1 centimetre. But by the time they get to be about 20 or 30 centimetres long, some of them just break off. They're so fragile under their own weight. Now in the middle of them they are hollow like a straw, so they can easily get blocked up as well. And when they do, it's whatever has come down with the water. It could be just a bit of soil, a bit of rock or calcite itself. So if one of these is strong enough to keep growing and it gets blocked, calcite just starts to build around the blockage on the outside. The straw itself will get bigger and thicker, and that's how over a long time, that is how you get your true stalactites. The big huge ones, they all start with straws. They just get blocked and they get bigger. And we do have a few in our next stop. But to go through to the next stop, guys, we're going to go through a little man-made section. We call it the squeeze. It's not that bad. But in Clack Pipe, we do have a steep slope that goes up and then down, and the roof is low at the top. So as you come through with me, hold on to the railing, mind your head, and just take your time.
Ooh, look at the formation now.
Okay, folks, so at our last step there, I was telling you all about the straw stalactites, and you'll see a few of them hanging down here as well. You see them throughout most of the cave as we go through it. So as I said about the straws, they're hollow, they'll easily get blocked up in the middle, and what actually happens is, the water can't come out through the straw anymore, so it goes around to the outside, the calcite builds there, the calcite just gets there, the stalactites just get bigger and stronger, and over thousands of years until you get these guys. These are true stalactites. Now we've actually named these after a bunch of vegetables, so you can probably guess which one. These are the bunch of carrots. And every couple of seconds as well, you'll see little drops of water that fall down off them and off the straws. So those drops of water, they will still have a bit of calcite left in them. And when that falls down to the ground, as long as the ground is dry enough, the calcite is left there. So the water actually just evaporates. With every drop that falls down, calcite will start to build from the ground up underneath. And that's how you get your stalagmites. With stalagmites, they're growing up, so they're facing gravity. Gravity weighs them down, and that's why they're always going to be a little bit rounder and flatter compared to their stalactites over them. Now, if the two of those keep growing, if one keeps feeding the other, they could eventually fuse together and join. So when they do join up, that is how we get a column or a pillar, like this one up here at the very back. So we have a big column there, we have a little baby one beside it, but that big column formed from a bunch of stalactites. It joins the bunch of stalagmites underneath, and that's why that one is so wide, especially at the top and at the base. As you can see, it can't get much taller, so it's just going to keep getting wider, and eventually it will fill out the back. But we can imagine how old, or you can imagine how old some of these could be if it takes a straw 100 years just to get to 1 centimetre. We decided to have one dated, so we picked this stalagmite here. We call this one our unicorn's horn, and it's dated by what's called uranium ion dating. So what they actually do is they scrape off a piece at the bottom with stalagmites as their oldest point. They send that back to a lab and they date for the amount of uranium that's been built up inside, that has built up inside. This one is over 8,000 years old. So that makes sense. You might remember at the second stop I was mentioning that the last river dried out about 15,000 years ago. Okay. So these have only been growing since then. And that's the unique thing about Ivy Cave. We have one of the oldest caves in the country. You'd imagine huge formations. But because that river only dried out recently, the active formations, they've only been growing since then. So that's why we have such an old cave with such young formations. Alright, so that's 3 things of that. Now guys, what we like to do in here, this is where we like to show you what we call, or what I call anyway, the Jack McGann experience. Would you like to see what the cave is like for a few seconds with no lighting whatsoever? So complete natural darkness. Is that okay? Here as well.
You have to go there to get the proper stuff, okay? You let that go in. Free shower. We got the free shower.
Doon. Wala pa yung meron ko doon. Dito tayo magkuha. Move up. Ay, shit. No, that's good now.
That is where the water is coming from, and it doesn't stop flowing whether it rains or not. Okay, you release the
Mind your head. Oh, look at those. Hey, I'm trying to focus.
I think so, yeah.
So when you're going back towards like the Galway direction, yeah, it's like a point to the it's a lovely walk now. Okay. So if you pajamas, if you think about that time to finish.
Now heading out. Oops, sorry.
I'm taking things.
Work the wall, yeah. And it's about
Now, see?
you're
We're
just in both I know it's about 4K. Maybe. You do big loop around it. There's an ice cream parlor down there, the Nala ice cream. The Nala. It is in fairness, you could always when you go have your night. That's like
What? Sorry. Thanks very much. Thank you.